Thanks for. I've heard, their tolerance about it. Oh, yeah, that was. There you go. Yeah. So now, okay. Good. Now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Dramatic, right? I'd like to call to order the meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Riverwoods. Will you stand with me, please, and say the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States. And to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Clerk, call the roll, please.
Mayor Ford,
Here.
Trustee Clayton,
Here.
Trustee Eastmond,
Here.
Trustee Jamerson,
Here.
Trustee Raff,
Here.
Trustee Smith,
Here.
and Trustee Trevino. We have a quorum.
Thank you. First order of business is approval of the minutes of the Board of Trustees meeting of June 17th. Do I have a motion for approval, please?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Are there any comments, questions, edits, suggestions? Trustee Trevino, please.
Yes, under the police report in the first paragraph, that last sentence kind of trailed off and didn't finish. So I don't know if that was just my copy or,
No.
Do you see it? I'm sorry, I don't have them.
sorry.
I think it's hurt. I think nobody was hurt. It's supposed to say HURT period.
With that duly noted, are there any other questions, comments? Being none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Minutes are
Abstain.
approved.
Abstain.
Excuse me. Trustee Clayton is abstained. Next order of business, a finance director's report. Before we hear from Director Vasquez, do I have a motion for approval of the bills, please?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any questions or comments on the bills as presented? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Trustee Clayton,
Aye.
Trustee Eastmond,
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson,
Aye.
Trustee Raff,
Aye.
Trustee Smith,
Aye.
Trustee Trevino.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Director Vasquez, please.
Thank you, Mayor. I have a few items for my report tonight. With the recent completion of the 2024 audit, we have completed filing our annual comptroller's report with the state and posting the annual treasurer's report in the local newspaper, both before the June 30th deadline. Now that the audit is completed, I'll be starting preliminary work on the 2026 budget later this month with staff. I'll also be working with the village attorney to prepare for the annual TIF Joint Review Board meeting, which we will schedule later this summer. And at the next board meeting, I will have the second quarter 2025 financial report to present. One other item I've been working on is some numbers to go over water rates with the board. It was an item that if there had been time tonight, I was looking to present, but I'll have information for that for the board soon. Just as a reminder, we last changed our water rates in the fourth quarter of 2023. And that's all I have for my report tonight.
Are there any questions or comments for our director? Seeing none, thank you very much. Treasurer's not with us tonight. Director of Community Services, Director Witt, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a few minor things. Just wanted to let you know for Saunders Road, we did hold the neighborhood meeting last Wednesday night to go over project parameters. We had display boards showing the Saunders Road project all the way from Riverwoods to Duffy. Notices were sent out to all property owners within 300 feet of Saunders Road. which entailed about 100 notices that were sent out, to which 17 residents did show up. They were very appreciative of not only the conversation that we held, but the fact that they could see what's happening at their particular property. There was a lot of questions and answers, and I think we did good with that. We did commit to regular updates on the village website and door-to-door announcements by hand delivery for certain things like lane closures where necessary, or if there's any delays that would affect people at a minute-to-minute basis. Information will also be on the website once we solidify the contractor at the pre-con meeting as far as who the daily contacts will be. Thomas Engineering, as you may remember, was engaged to do the construction observation. It will be their staff on site who will be the go-to person, our personnel, I should say, supported by GHA and as well the village. So we look forward to that project starting soon. My guess would be that it's going to start somewhere in August. Continuing with road programs, Chicagoland Paving was the contractor that the 2025 road program was awarded to. They are actually starting work tomorrow, and by Thursday, they should have all the patchwork done, including the 2 Village Hall lots. So if anyone here is planning to show up to Village Hall Thursday morning, you need to use the north lot for at least the morning time. We will be doing full cut and patch to get rid of the 2 bird baths, which are and they have been a disaster waiting to happen in the wintertime at the south lot. And we have a similar situation here at the north. After that, we're going to try to coordinate a time where both the police department as well as Village Hall can get crack control, seal coating, and restriping of the pavements done yet this year. I will have to let you know, though, that in the project, I think there was an oversight on somebody's part that with all the crack control happening on Port Wine Road, all the crack control happening down the center is going to cover most of the double yellow lines. So we would like to come forth with a change order at the next board meeting to cover the cost of restriping Port Wine Road the full length in order so that, you know, the road is safer. I would rather do it at this time than to wait another year to get it in the program. So that's really all I have at the moment. Yes.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
I have 2 questions. Have you had any conversations with either one of the golf courses, since they're both going to be directly impacted with Saunders Road, and having them notify their, especially country club is going to be easier because they have a pretty standard, I mean, they know who is the member. The golf course will be a little different, but they're going to have some serious inconveniences.
Yes, they will. Unfortunately, we don't have a construction schedule pinned down yet.
Yeah.
Some of the questions that we had last Wednesday night were all related to time frame, and because the contract had not been awarded, it got signed this morning. So now that we have that in place, we do our pre-con and we establish what that schedule is so that we can make that notification. Obviously, they know that the work is happening because they were all sent notices by mail. However, yes, we do intend, as I suggested before, to give ample notice to people as far as what's going to be happening. But yes, now is the time to be working with them to put together a plan for how we can keep them in operation. Maybe it's, you know, the work occurs mostly on one lot opening versus the other. We don't want to bog them down and have both entry drives shut at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Second question.
Yeah.
I have more of a comment. The striping on Port Wine, it probably needed to be done anyway. And are you going to do not only the center stripe, but the side stripes as well? Okay.
Yellow down the center, white on the edge.
Okay. Because it's almost, you can't see it now anyways.
Right. And we had a request, particularly by the police department earlier this year, to double stripe the center line at Saunders Road until I reminded the officer that it's getting ripped up and it's going to all be nice and fresh once that's done. Unfortunately, the project's going to expand into next year. So we'll probably go through another winter of having a hard time seeing that center line. But I just couldn't see spending that kind of money and just rip it out a couple of months later. So we're trying to hold off on that one.
Okay. Thank you.
Are there any other questions for our director? Thank you very much. Consultants report, village attorney, please.
This is maybe a subject for Director Witt, but it's also maybe in the nature of a future intergovernmental agreement. So I thought I would just mention it to the board. We've been having discussions about the potential development of the Orphans of the Storm site. And we had some recollection institutionally of the planned rehabilitation of Riverwoods Road. And we were trying to figure out what would happen with, there's a, our 5-foot multi-use path along Riverwoods Road is not in the best condition. And it turns out that we had mentioned to the county, now it goes back a couple of years, but they have that in their notes, that we prefer to have an enhanced shoulder along Riverwoods Road. And they said their current plans were, we had a conference call with Lake County DOT last week. And their current plans are to have a 3 to 4 foot shoulder, enhanced shoulder on each side, just in the planning phase right now when they go in and redo Riverwoods Road. Then the decision will come back to the village on the existing path. Right now, it's maybe more or less 5 feet. Everyone knows which one I'm talking about on Riverwoods Road from, no, maybe not even 5 feet. Possibly it could be just repaved as 5 feet as a sidewalk or, shared walking path. Possibly it could be improved further as an 8-foot path, but that depends on, how much damage and the issues it would take to widen it. Maybe, I don't know if we'd have to, any right of way that might be needed or conflicts with driveways that come out. So I only mention this because it is a subject that we will need to pursue with the county over the next, year or so. It does relate to the connectivity discussion that you had. And I just wanted you to know that we raised it with the county. They're aware of it and that that this planning process about what to do with the paths along Riverwoods Road, they agreed would be collaborative. If we do something with the enhanced shoulders as part of their project, but the cost of redoing their path on Riverwoods Road is a village project. They would perform it as part of the work. So there would be economies of scale when they do the road widening, but it would be a village cost. So it's a budgeting discussion. It's a policy discussion.
And part of that discussion has to be future maintenance, snow removal,
All
all of that built into it if we decide to do that.
And so with the county, we always have a number of intergovernmental agreements at different times. Of course, we have the one about the federal life site. They also are reminding us, as I've mentioned the board a couple of times, that they will be providing us at some point with term sheet for the intergovernmental agreement that governs the widening of Deerfield Road, because there are local improvements that we're responsible for. There's some sidewalk portions. There's some what they call enhanced pedestrian crossings that we're responsible for, the local share of which are that we're responsible for. So we're going to be, we've talked with Director Witt, Director Vasquez about developing the budget for that, but I keep mentioning it because I don't want the board to be surprised when the county comes back. There's some utility relocations. Trustee Jamerson, like we have a water main that's in there right away. We have to move. So this is just, we have all these moving things going on with the county, and every now and then I just remind you.
Trustee Jamerson,
Sorry,
please.
I do know about the water main, and I was the one who kind of was concerned about that in the beginning. But you keep mentioning sidewalks, and we've talked about sidewalks, and I'm not sure that we ever decided to put the sidewalks. If the sidewalks I'm thinking about they're at the very west end, did we actually agree to do that?
I think we did, but it's included in the project. It's of course hasn't been.
We've agreed now. That's what you're telling me?
Well, it would go in front of the fire station and go out to.
Yeah, to Milwaukee. Okay.
Falls under the general topic of IGAs, right?
Yeah, but we're paying,
Everything
we're
falls in.
paying for that sidewalk,
Yes.
a good portion of it, and then we have to maintain it. And I wasn't sure that we.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay, we don't need to discuss it now.
Sounds like a topic for,
Mm-hmm.
it does, it does. Are there any questions for our village attorney at this point? Okay, seeing none. Plan Commission, Chair Bright. Sorry.
Piggybacks on that theme. Have we heard anything more now that some time has passed on the fire department strategy for getting approval of what they're doing? Or do we have any more clarity on that or?
No, not that I'm aware of. Not that I'm aware of. There any other questions or comments for our village attorney at this point? Okay, thank you. Now moving forward, Chair Brightcroft, please.
Good evening. At the request of Orphans of the Storm, the Plan Commission will hold a public hearing on July the 10th to consider text amendments to the Riverwood zoning ordinance to include a new definition of animal shelter and to allow a special use for such an animal shelter in the R1 42,000 square foot single-family residential district, provided that the special use satisfies specific standards. Plan Commission also will consider granting a special use to orphans for use of the described property as an animal shelter. And that is it.
Are there any questions or comments for our chair? Thank you.
And I guess I'm kind of back to nothing to report, except that the ZBA meeting has been moved to the 17th to allow for the meeting on the 10th of the Plan Commission. So we will be continuing our discussion on sign ordinances. At this point, it's been with regards to commercial properties, and that discussion will continue on the 17th. Any questions anywhere? No one ever does.
Okay, moving on. Police report, please. Chief?
Yes, I just have the police activity that's in the board's packet.
Are there any questions for our chief? Seeing none. Moving on, Fire District, our Chief Kruger is not with us this evening. Information items and comments from the president. We may have a representative on the zoning Board of Appeals. No, on the South Lake Mosquito Abatement District. Don't get too excited yet, but we have a great candidate, Sarah Merritt. Hi. And hoping that she moves forward at the upcoming county board meeting. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed. And you've gotten the most positive response that I've heard yet. Tried to follow it up again today, but we will see. And that is a big topic lately because we've had a number of comments and complaints about mosquitoes and the nuisance mosquitoes recently. There have been, we just got a notice from the Lake County Board of Health this afternoon that West Nile virus, there have been some tests in Highland Park where the West Nile virus has shown up in some of the traps that that were collected. So we want to be mindful of mosquitoes, and it's very important. It's a health and safety issue for our community. I think we've talked before about the fact that there's the possibility of the chair of the county board moving to dissolve this particular district. And we will keep our fingers in the pot. Trustee Eastman and I have been keeping our representative up to date. We've been going to the meetings. The next one is Monday, July 14th. And we show up at every one and try to stay on, try to stay up to date and continue to make our voice known. Dissolution apparently is not as easy as one would think. There's something called a backdoor referendum. Should the chair of the county board move to dissolve it, that process could kick in. And then we as a community have to mobilize and get signatures and on and on and on. So we will stay up to date on that and certainly let the board know. And we wish Sarah the best of luck. And you will really enjoy this board. It's very fine people. And that's all I've got to report tonight, which is kind of positive. So moving on, are there any visitors wishing to address the board on items not on the agenda? Catherine, oh, Randy, hi, come on up. Come on up.
Randy Merrill with RPC. Wanted to let you know that we sold out of our native seed packs. They were very well received by the community. Our garage sale now, we are up to 16 people. It is actually going to be larger than we've had before. So we are very excited about that. Now we just need more tables.
Comma, Rick.
I know, tables. I bring about 8 personally. I know Trustee Jamerson supplies us with tables and we have the village's tables, but hopefully we'll need a little bit more. And then off topic, I wanted to say thank you so much for allowing the use of Village Hall for this last Saturday's tour of the modernist homes in Riverwoods. Super successful. People were so happy. And we did speak to a lot of Riverwoods residents. So I think the advertisement that we did in our e-newsletter really got a lot of tickets sold. So thank you for supporting us. My dream now is to have a booklet that says Mid-Century Modern Homes of Riverwoods. So that might be an interesting little project because there's definitely a demand for this type of architecture. Thank you.
Any comments or questions you'd like to share?
I just want to
Trustee
make one
Jamerson.
additional
Yeah.
comment, because my house was on the tour as well as Randy's. And it was amazing how many people had no idea Riverwoods existed. And I used it as an opportunity to explain to them about our woodland protection ordinance and all the wonderful things we do here in the woods. So there were 120 people that came through. It was not a small event. So I think it put us on the map a little bit more than we are, which isn't much, but.
But it's a nice extension of preservation. It's not just about our woodlands and the property that we're on, but it's about our homes and, and caring to, keep up with that kind of maintenance. I have another event that I'm working on for Atomic Ranch magazine, which is like Architectural Digest for those of us who love modernist homes. And the 2 of our homes will be on it again, but it's going to go into Lake Forest and Highland Park as well. So again, keeping us in the news. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments here? Thank you very much. Is there anyone else wishing to address the board? Okay, thank you. Moving on. First item of new business. Presentation for consideration of annexation and development of the property on Milwaukee Avenue, also known as the Sale Barn, by Quick Trip Corporation. I believe we have some representatives from Quick Trip with us this evening. So if you'll take a seat, your colleagues can join you if you like, and we can, if you'll introduce yourself, and the floor is yours.
Thank you. My name is Ollie Bucrest. I'm a real estate project manager with Quick Trip Corporation. And just want to thank the board for allowing us to speak to you tonight, introduce who Quick Trip is, and introduce our project into Riverwoods. This project for annexation that we're looking at is located on 971 Milwaukee Ave, currently in Lake County, Illinois. Just a little bit of brief history about Quick Trip Corporation, who we are, what we stand for as a company. Quick Trip was founded in 1958 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The current founding family are still the owners of Quick Trip. We have over 1,100 stores nationwide. Most recently, our expansion markets and our focus is Chicago and the Denver markets. just for a brief look at the future for QuickTrip, within the next 5 years, we are looking at building 50 stores around the Chicago market, and within the next following 5 years, another 50 stores. So we're aggressively pursuing the Illinois market, and those are two our main expansion markets as of right now. We do not franchise any of our location. It is privately held company. Our employees are the owners. That we believe that that's what distinguishes us from other gas stations around. If you go into a QuickTrip, it's going to be clean restrooms. Your Snicker bar is going to be on the same shelf at the same location, whether you're in Arizona or in the Carolinas. We have the same alignments across our stores, you know, and our employees are owners of the company, so we take pride into QuickTrips. QuickTrip is also, we believe that we're a socially responsible company. We work with multiple different organizations. Our main ones that we work with nationwide is United Way, Folds of Honor, and Safe Place. If you're not familiar with Safe Place, it is a national charitable organization for endangered youth. So for any situation, whether it's at home, at school, outside, they can go to any QuickTrip nationwide, and every employee is trained on how to handle that situation. We'll call Safe Place personnel, and we'll get that youth taken care of. Another thing that QuickTrip does is we donate 5% of our profits to charitable organizations. What's really unique about this is that whenever we donate our profits, it actually goes into the communities that we serve. So nationwide, we donate 5%, but it goes into the communities that we serve. We actually have a department for community affairs. We're eager to work with different communities and different charitable organizations to make sure that we're making an impact in those communities and helping QuickTrip grow, making it you know, a neighborhood-friendly store, and also contributing to the community. Another thing that we really pride ourselves about is our employees. I've been here for almost 11 years now. That may seem like a long time, but I'm still considered a baby at the QuickTrip Corporation. Is just multiple people there, 20, 30 years, some even 40, 50 years before they retire. It's a great company to work for. The longevity in the company speaks for itself. You can go talk to any QuickTrip employee. I guarantee you're going to hear 5, 10, 15, 20 years. We take care of our employees as well. That's the main reason why I even started at this company. I was in college. I heard they do tuition reimbursement, and that's the reason why I joined. I was working in stores, enjoyed the tuition reimbursement, and you know, didn't think that was going to make a career out of a gas station, but we really pride ourselves on it's really more than a gas station. I got my degree in accounting, and now I'm in real estate. So they give you the opportunity to grow and succeed. You know, our CEO says, if you're not taking care of the customers, make sure you take care of the ones who do. So we really pride ourselves on that, and also providing for those employees to grow within the company. On average, per QuickTrip, we do 3 to 4 times the property sales tax, or the property, not just property, just sales tax in general, as other gas stations that we operate next to. So it is a significant benefit to communities that we do operate in. So that's another thing that we benefit the community with. We also give our employees employee stock option. So every employee gets deferred stocks to them, so they feel like they're more part of the company, be more proudful of it. You can see on the screen right now, that is the current site that we are looking to develop. This will be a QuickTrip Generation 3 building with a vertical 8 gas canopy. So it will be 16 fueling positions. This in the building elevation here, that is our standard QuickTrip building. So no matter where you go, these are going to be your QuickTrips. The next one is going to be your canopy elevation, and that's how it would look like. And this is a view of the current site from street level. And then on the next screen, you will see what we are proposing. As you can see, we are significantly reducing the current build out of the site. We're adding more green space to the back and we're moving everything to the front. There will also be another pad to the left of that screen that will be for future development. It's going to be right there on Milwaukee Ave. It's a great opportunity for more investment into the village of Riverwood. Most people, whenever you hear gas stations, are really concerned about environmental issues. One of the things that we really pride ourselves on is that QuikTrip goes above and beyond when it comes to environmental issues. For example, we do use double wall tanks. That's not really an industry standard. It's not EPA required. QuikTrip invest that extra cash into our developments just to make sure to gives the city, the villages, and the community a peace of mind that we do go above and beyond. We also have redundant sensors everywhere we go, everywhere on the fuel system. We have floating sensors. We have sensors at the gas canopy. We also have emergency shutoffs, not only on the inside of the store, but also on the outside of the store. And then this slide right here just basically describes our fuel system. We meet regulatory compliance, continuous tank and line detection systems. We have 24-hour response. If in case of an emergency does happen within an hour or two, there's an emergency response team. We work with this 24-hour response team all over the nation. So we have vapor recovery system, fuel system, and the fuel system design is also, again, double wall tanks and lines with monitored intersect and sensors. So we really do go above and beyond in our investment of our stores to make sure that everything's safe whenever we operate. And with that, I'll open up for questions. I do have my traffic engineer here as well, my environmental project manager, and we do have an engineer that's with Farnsworth that is working currently on a Clomar for this location. So if you have any questions, we'll be happy to answer those.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
Sorry. I do have one question. Are you going to make any provisions for electric vehicle charging?
Yeah, absolutely. We're completely open to that. That's not something that right now we're showing two parking spaces that will have conduits ran to them. So we're not experts in charging stations. So what we usually do is run conduits to them. They'll be charging station ready. And if Tesla or Supercharger reaches out to us and say, hey, we believe your site is a great location for us, and we'll give that to them.
Okay. Just curious because many of the Thornton stations are actually installing charging stations right now. So just a thought. We're very interested in having that be there from the beginning.
Okay.
At least I am.
Trustee Clayton, did you have some?
Yeah, just how do you see the advantages of being annexed into Riverwoods?
A couple of advantages for us. You know, we like to operate in communities, smaller communities. This is who we are in nature. Lake County is a big community. And we like to really matter in the community and show who QuikTrip really is. Another thing is also utilities as well. It's that's something that we looked into. We had, you know, this particular site is unique because it's close to so many other villages in the county. And we did our research on it, and, you know, we went forward with Riverwood because we actually, you know, that's something that we believe that we'll make a good community effort in. And really it's just, that's really the main reasons why we picked Riverwood.
Trustee Raff, please.
Following up, does this site have municipal water?
Not at this time. Well, I don't know for a fact. I've not been at the Sale Barn property. Mayor and I have been trying to schedule a time that we actually go out there to find out what they are. However, there has been discussion on bringing water to this site. There are essentially two options. One is costly and one's maybe not so much. The costly route to go would be to bring it from the north at Thornton's, somewhat south of the Thornton's property, and just run it down Milwaukee. The other option, which we have been doing a little bit of investigation on behalf of this particular project, is to actually take a line from Riverwoods underneath the Des Plaines River and bring it over to that site. GHA's involved in the initial just investigation on it. They haven't spent a lot of time, but they are currently doing a much larger project going underneath the river in a project in Lincolnshire. So it's not unheard of to do. And in doing so, we would avoid lengthy time periods trying to get permits through the EPA on it. So the answer is, I don't know if it currently does, but it's feasible to bring water to them.
Trustee Clayton.
Just a question for the chief. How do you see this impacting the police department?
I don't see it having much of an impact. Thornton's, I mean, we do get calls there, but nothing where we would need to add officers or anything. And I don't see this being any different.
Additional officer or?
I don't expect that.
Trustee Smith, please.
Sure. So just a couple of questions. There's already roughly four gas stations, between Lake Cook Road and Deerfield Road, including Woodman's, which is on the west side of Milwaukee Avenue, but roughly four. Two speedways. There's the Thorntons. Maybe there's something else that's escaping me. Well, Woodman's, yeah, right. How do you see this benefiting the village or the village residents, knowing that there's already a bunch of gas stations there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm not sure if the other gas stations are annexed into the village.
They are not.
They are not.
Well, Thornton's is, but the other two or three are not.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things that we notice, whenever QuikTrip goes into a community, we're a catalyst of redevelopment. Also, we pride ourselves on being the industry standard. Usually whenever QuikTrip comes into a community, you see other gas stations redeveloping their gas stations, making it a better look on the outside, architecturally pleasing. And again, with those redevelopments to the city, that increases tax dollars, which in turn benefits the community.
What about, sorry, just to kind of continue since I have the floor, so to speak, or sharing the floor with you. What do you think this is, you mentioned you had a traffic consultant perhaps with you, or you're working on that. What do you think this is going to do to traffic on Milwaukee Avenue and any impact of traffic going up and down Deerfield Road?
When it comes to traffic, so with the traffic study that we have received, which is we already submitted to IDOT, what's unique about this current property is just one way in, one way out. It's at the stoplight, it's controlled. In our area of business, we are traffic capture, not a traffic generator. There's multiple gas stations nationwide that you can stop at. So typically the gas station industry will go to where traffic currently exists.
And as a follow-up to that, then, are you thinking this is primarily, kind of commuter type cars, or are you expecting to attract you mentioned diesel tanks. Obviously, some cars and trucks run on diesel. I get that, but are you envisioning this being a place for semis to refuel, or is this kind of more your typical light car, light pickups, things like that?
Correct. Yeah, there will be no commercial vehicle fueling at this facility. It'll just be your typical commuter car.
Trustee Eastman, please.
Assuming that, your existing project timescales hold, when would you envision this facility opening?
If everything goes well, we get permits in hand. This is about a 26-week build, sometimes sooner than that. So we've seen one as fast as 18 weeks, but usually it's around the 24 to 26-week build.
Okay, thank you.
About how
Has a
many,
question.
Excuse me. Was there?
about
Trustee
how
Rath.
many employees would you expect to have?
So for this site, we will typically hire about 20 to 25 employees.
Is that full-time equivalent?
So it wouldn't be considered full-time, so we'll have about 10 full-time, 10 part-time. But, as our part-time employees, they do have, they can work over full-time hours.
I guess I'm asking is, when you say 20 to 25, is that kind of full-time equivalents, which in my world, being an HR consultant, means 40-hour employees? Or are you saying 20 full-time, or I'm sorry, 10 full-time, 10 part-time? So a total of 20 during a standard work week of, what, are you 24 hours?
Correct.
So it's essentially 20 employees over 24 hours for 7 days a week?
Correct, 20 to 25 employees.
Trustee Jamerson.
You mentioned that, this is a big piece of property.
Mhm.
So based on your site plan, there's land to the north and there's land to the east. You said something about possibly the land to the north being developed. Would that be by you or by somebody else, or to the east? Which land were you talking about?
Yes, so the land to the, not behind our store.
The land to the north.
To the north, correct.
Okay.
So yeah, that's something that somebody else will develop. And we're willing to work with the village to see what they have in mind. And if we can get something done with them, we'll definitely team up. Excuse me.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Smith, please.
Yeah, one other question, just in terms of site. There's kind of some ongoing sales structure there, apparently called barn sale, which I was not aware of. But I was wondering, what about the property where the brownfield is, which seems inclement to other development? Have you looked? There's a property, I think it's 17 acres, 37 acres. Trustee Jamerson, I can't quite remember, a little bit further north. I was just wondering, is there maybe a better spot to do this that would perhaps? No, I'm just talking hypothetically.
I think one of the advantages of this site is there's a traffic signal.
Oh,
Right. Not only that, but they have to bury tanks and they can't do that on the brownfield.
Oh, you can't?
No, you
I was just
can't, you
thinking-
can't pierce the top.
I was just thinking use land that's already contaminated to put in tanks.
It's not contaminated.
Got a letter. Trustee Clayton, please.
Will you require a liquor license? And is your business model generally driven by the store or by fuel sales?
So we do, it's driven by fuel sales and inside sales. So QuikTrip does operate a QuikTrip kitchen. It's not like, if you go to, for example, a Gas and Wash, you see a Dunkin' Donut in there. That's not something that QuikTrip does. We do operate a QuikTrip kitchen. It's QuikTrip owned and operated. We do have made to order foods, pizzas, sandwiches, tacos. We also have grab and goes as well. So we see our business model as inside sales and outside sales.
Trustee Raff.
Liquor license, yes. So for liquor license, we just want to be competitive with other village gas stations, that how they operate whenever it comes to liquor, beer, wine. We just asked to be have the same licenses.
What about gaming?
So gaming, I get asked this question a lot. So Quick Trip is really not into the gaming business. We've never been in gaming business. It's just something that we learned once we really penetrated the Chicago market. So if that is something that is not allowed in the village, or that's not something that you don't want to see, that does not scare us away.
If I could just
Absolutely.
give the board a little context for what would be any next step here. So when there's property that is not in the village, the decision whether or not to proceed with annexing the property is up to this board. It's a legislative decision. The state law, however, gives us certain procedures that we would go through. So if the board said we're interested enough to continue proceeding with this as something we'd like to explore further and see if we want to improve it, then they could direct the village attorney to sit down with the applicant to develop a petition for annexation and the term sheet for an annexation agreement. If we have an annexation agreement with the applicant, then in that agreement, we would specify what the use of the property would be, what the site plan and that the buildings would look like. We could specify operational matters, what kind of liquor license, if any, prohibition on gaming, whatever we wanted could be specified in the annexation agreement. Annexation agreements are one of the unique instances in Illinois where you can negotiate the terms of the zoning. It's the one time where what we normally think of as not allowed spot zoning. Well, with an annexation agreement, you have authority to negotiate the terms in which the property comes into the village. So if the applicant were to ask us, well, then how would it be zoned? We would look at the zoning ordinance I have, just to sort of have an idea. The B1 business district, which is where Colonial Court and the shops are currently located, the B1 district, both are developed with special uses. The shops is developed with what we call the mixed use plan development, special use. And among the uses that can be authorized as that kind of special use is a service station and convenience store. I believe that's how actually the Thorntons is zoned. One of the interesting things about that zoning district is that it also has other kinds of retail uses, because you can see from the shops the variety of retail uses. So it would be probably logical to try and apply that zoning to the entire site, where the first phase is what is being proposed is known as the service station, and the rest of the site would be something that could in the future be developed within our zoning, or, you know, we could say subject to, again, we can put lots of conditions on there. It's an annexation agreement. If we go through this process of developing a term sheet, we'll come back to the board and say, what do you think? Then we would need to schedule a couple of things before we could approve the annexation agreement. We would schedule a hearing before the Plan Commission, which has to consider the zoning that would be granted pursuant to the annexation agreement. And then we would schedule a hearing before the board on the subject of the annexation agreement. Once those two hearings are completed, then the board by an ordinance can approve the annexation agreement, and then subsequently, after the annexation agreement is approved, it can adopt ordinances applying the zoning, since the hearing has already been held, so to speak, and granting the special use. So that's procedurally how we would do it. The policy issue is totally up to the board. There's no, the board has, you have legislative grace on this issue. You're not required to annex the property. If you prefer that it go to Buffalo Grove, be developed in the county, not come into the village, that's a board decision.
Oh, okay. Trustee Eastman.
No.
Oh, I'm sorry, Trustee Raff.
Has any representative of the village had the opportunity to study, and if not, at what point does it become public?
Okay, we haven't really reviewed it yet. The traffic study, just so you know, would be primarily about getting on and off of Milwaukee safely and the traffic circulation on the site. Milwaukee carries 60,000 cars a day. It's a strategic regional artery. I don't think that there's a traffic study to show that they're not creating too much traffic on Milwaukee. That wouldn't be the purpose of it. So it really would be just related to safe ingress and egress, whether cars would be stacking or something like that. So as part of the annexation agreement, we would specify that they have to apply for the special use, that they have to apply for the zoning that we're agreeing that it would be appropriate. And that as part of that zoning submittal, they have to provide what any applicant would provide, which would be appropriate traffic study, appropriate information such as the Plan Commission would request, safety information, environmental information, all those things would be submitted because unless the board is prepared to grant the zoning on the basis of those studies, it wouldn't proceed. And many times the annexation agreement might say, for example, that if you go through all this work and the board says, you know what, we're not satisfied at the end, we're not going to grant the zoning, the applicant may say, well, in that case, I'd like to not proceed with the annexation or, stay in the county. So
And at what stage is there public notification and public hearing? Most annexation.
well, no. So if we have a term sheet and we have a draft annexation agreement, then we also, as part of that agreement, have the description of the zoning that we would anticipate approving. Now, since we have an existing zoning district, most of our work is cut out for us. We simply say, we think you could be zoned as a special use under these provisions. And before we could proceed with the annexation hearing, the state law requires that we proceed with the hearing on the special use. So all of that would happen before it would come back to this board. And the special use is a public hearing like all our land use public hearings before the Plan Commission.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
Attorney Bouvard, would this annexation of this property help the village to annex any other property?
Well, it would put us across, it would make us more contiguous to property on the west side of Milwaukee. I haven't studied the map to be able to answer you definitively what would be further enhanced. It doesn't improve our ability, let me say this, it doesn't improve our ability to involuntarily annex anything.
Okay.
It only improves our ability to involuntarily annex property, one must surround the property entirely, or it has to be surrounded entirely by municipal boundaries so that it's not still in part of the unincorporated part of the county. We can't completely encircle the landfill property, and so annexing this would not make that a possibility.
I didn't think so, but I thought
that might
throw it out there.
Trustee Eastman, please.
So getting to my question about, timeframes so that people have a working understanding, we heard about how long it would take to actually construct the gas station. Using Thornton's as a proxy and understanding that each process is different to get through the required, Plan Commission, board approval, all of that, what are we looking at in terms of reasonable timescales?
Well, I think the site plan probably doesn't change much except for the utility plan when it comes to how you get utilities. So I think that the 26-week example, that's for the building itself, but it doesn't include the time for getting permits.
That's what I'm kind of getting at.
And
roughly how long does that
I don't know if,
so that people understand?
yeah, I think to design, to bring, and one of the subjects of the annexation agreement would be specifying that bringing water to the site is a responsibility. I'm assuming that the applicant is going to pay for it. There may be some notion of, recapture if other properties were later served, but that we would have to specify that in the annexation agreement. But getting the permits for all that is another. I don't know if Director Witt has a thought about that, but it's probably several months.
You're probably talking 1 to 2 months on a project like this, would be my guess.
Yeah, so.
There's a technical review that has to be completed. I understand the technical review would need to be completed before the Plan Commission hearing. Is that correct?
That would be correct. And then you have to go through that commission and then you have to apply for permits. So we're probably looking at 4 months plus minus, maybe sooner, depending. depending on how smooth they go through the process. You know, if you start with the staff review committee meeting and it flies through with minor comments, you're one meeting. If there's a need to come back a second time, it's a different story. And we've had projects that have taken 3 and 4 times, but at the moment, it appears that this organization has, you know, they have background in doing this many times before. So my anticipation is that that process would be smoother than normal.
Thank you. I think that helps just because usually, you know, people ask, you know, how long will something like this take to get up and running, right? At what point does it start to impact our community? And that helps to kind of get a little bit of, you know, meat around that answer.
Trustee Raff, I saw your hand.
Yes, quick trip with us.
I'm sorry.
Have you looked into annexation with anyone besides Riverwoods?
We have not.
Trustee Smith, please.
Is there a projection, and this might be a village question, you know, like what sales tax revenue, what motor fuel tax revenue, and property tax value, if it gets annexed into the village, do we have an idea of what this is worth to the village?
Trust, if I could ask Director Vasquez, please.
So just as a reminder to the board, the motor fuel tax is that we receive is based on population, so that wouldn't change. However, we do have a municipal fuel tax on gas stations within the village, which is 2 cents per gallon. So while I don't know how much volume the Quick Trip establishment would anticipate, the village would see a benefit there. Again, without knowing how much they plan on moving, I can tell you we currently have 2 gas stations in town, and I believe the budget for 2025 of revenue from those 2 combines to about, I want to say it's about around 135,000. So some math there. Sales tax, while individual tax information there is confidential, if they did business similar to existing gas stations, I would anticipate that they'd be within the top 5 sales tax in that range. As far as property tax goes, as you know, majority of the property taxes do end up going to the other taxing bodies like the school districts. And I don't know offhand what the current village share is from the existing, well, the existing property is outside the village share, so I know it's 0. So hopefully that helps answer those questions.
If there's just anything else that I can share with the board that would help you in deliberating about this, everything pretty much east of the building footprint that they're showing in the site plan is in floodplain. And for many years, the only property that's really developable on the site is the property closest to Milwaukee. We have had proposals over the years, people looking to develop the site. Unfortunately, many of them came in without a willingness or understanding of the site limitations, and they were showing a lot of improvements that we could look at immediately and say those are not feasible. But so if the site is annexed to the village, whether it's this use or some other use, I would expect that you would see a pattern of development like this, something that's geared to highway commercial uses, because you're on a very busy road, something that can take advantage of the light and the easy access off Milwaukee. You know, and if you develop the north parcel, you know, you'll start to get into some issues of detention. I don't know if the site will be engineered in advance to include that, but, you know, there are constraints on what can be developed on this site. Does the floodplain extend on how much of the north part of this at all, or is it just on?
I think the majority of it is on that east-west portion. And I think the bulk of that is actually in the floodway. So it makes it even more difficult for anybody to develop that property, which is why a development like this, which is smaller in stature, is an easier fit for that particular property.
So the action that the board can take this evening is to direct the attorney to develop a petition of annexation.
And negotiate a term sheet for an.
Negotiate a term sheet.
And an annexation agreement. I think we could do the term sheet, bring it back to the board. If the board thinks we're on the right track, then we can go with the rest of the annexation agreement.
Do we need a motion for that or?
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
okay.
I'll make a motion that the attorney create a term sheet. Is that the right? Am I going down the right path?
An outline for the annexation agreement.
Outline.
An outline for the annexation agreement.
Is there a second?
Second.
I think this is a roll call, please.
Sorry. Trustee Eastman,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson,
Aye.
trustee Raff,
Aye.
trustee Smith,
Nay.
trustee Trevino,
Aye.
trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Our attorney will be in touch with you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Oh, yes. Ollie.
Okay, moving on to the next item of new business. We have approval of a contract for Sanders Road STP in the amount of $3,224,492. Do I have a motion for approval? Or wait, how
200.
about if we have Director Witt lead us through this?
Certainly, Mayor, but there's not much to do other than just read this back into the record. This has been in front of the village board. At the last meeting, we discussed the fact that the contractor builders was actually approved through the IDOT letting process. IDOT has their own process for vetting bidders. They came in as the apparent low bidder. Their number was actually about 42,000 less than what the estimate the GHA put forth. So this is really just a formality to get them under contract so we can move this project forward.
Mayor.
Trustee Jamerson?
Before we move on, there's a discrepancy between the price in the background paragraph and the price in the action requested. One says $292 and one says $492. So the bid price is $3,422,292. And the action says to approve a contract for $3,224,492. So which one is correct?
We would go with the number that's actually on their contract paperwork.
292.
The 292.
Yeah, 292,
It
right?
should be the 292. My apologies.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Typo.
Can I, that's fine. I just want to make sure I'm.
No, thank you.
I-
Uh,
I'm going to make a motion. that
All
we
right, hold on
approve-
one second.
Ooh, see?
Hold on 1 second.
Trustee Jamerson make a motion.
Well,
I'll
not
second.
yet. I'm
Not
waiting
yet.
for the right price.
All right.
That didn't sound right.
The,
That's not how it came. I didn't mean it to come out that way.
all right, so you open a can of worms. I'm sorry for the discrepancy here. The actual number is 3,224,492. And that, if you look at the attachment, the email that came in from IDOT confirms that the bid amount was 3,224,492.
Okay. I will make a motion that we approve the contract for Builders Paving LLC for $3,224,492.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Seeing none. Roll call.
Trustee Jamerson,
Aye.
trustee Raff, trustee Smith,
Aye.
trustee Trevino,
Aye.
trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Eastman. Motion passes.
Thank you. And I hope to have an update as far as construction timeframe, hopefully by the next meeting, so we can share it with not only the board, but get it on the website so their residents understand what's happening.
Thank you very much for that. Next item of new business, approval of the appointment of Jim Hicks to the Zoning Board of Appeals. You have a memo in your packet Mr. Hicks has been at many of our board meetings, so you can meet him right there. He's agreed to put his name forward. And he and his family has shown great interest in the workings of our village, not only coming to all our meetings, but with the RRA as well. His background, I think his scientific background will be very, very helpful for the zoning board. And I would ask you to please approve this appointment.
Sure. I'll make a motion that we approve the appointment of, I can't find the name. Oh, Jim Hicks. Sorry, Jim. I wanted to make sure I got it right. Jim Hicks to the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? I think we can do it by acclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you. And thank you very much. And the chair did know, this is no surprise to Chair Graditor. And last on new business, approval of the appointment of Shelley Brown to the Plan Commission. Shelley Brown has served on the ZBA for us, and he is put his name forward to fill that open spot on the Plan Commission. And I would ask the board to approve that appointment as well. Is there
I'd like to move that we appoint Shelley Brown to the Plan Commission.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. No old business.
Not here, so.
No old business. We'll move on to committee reports. Finance Committee, Trustee Clayton, please.
The main focus of the Finance Committee at this particular juncture, I believe, are banking relationships, and we're going to have a meeting in the not too distant future to kind of review where we are with all that. That's all I got.
Any questions for our trustee? Okay, legal and legislation. Trustee Eastman, please.
So Mayor Ford and I have discussed putting together a document that identifies what units of government cover the village. And so that, the first step in influencing any other governmental bodies and knowing who to go to is understanding if a particular issue arises in an area, who's the actual representative that covers that. And there's different areas of our village that, things such as library districts, things such as, state house districts. It's not always obvious where those boundary lines are. So that will help. I'm in the process of doing that, and that will help us to, begin to understand exactly where those boundary lines are and have it in one document.
Are there any questions or suggestions for our trustee? Okay, seeing none, moving on. Building and infrastructure. Trustee Jamerson, please.
The building report is not in the packet because today is July 1st. And so it could not be put in the packet because
Today is July 1st.
today's July 1st. Well, because the packet had to go out on Friday, which was still June. But I do have a copy of the report, and I just want to verbally say that our construction value year to date is a little over 6.8 million. Last year it was a little over 7.3 at the same point in time. And partly that the number of permits is down by about a third from last year. However, we have on this month, there were permits for 2 new houses. So that bumped up the value quite a bit. So that's a good thing. The building department is busy as always, and things like orphans and other projects take up their time besides what we do with permits. So I can't stress how much work goes through that little department. There's basically 2 people and an inspector that work in that department, and they all do a yeoman's job. So thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely, and thank you for saying that. Much appreciated. Next, land use. Trustee Raff.
Yes. Following closely. We're following along closely with the Plan Commission and the possibility of revising the comprehensive plan. And as well hope to be involved in Walters Kluwer and now possibly this new annexation when the time is appropriate to get involved.
Are there any questions for our trustee? Moving on, Sustainability and Community Services. Trustee Smith, please.
Yeah, so there was a second sustainability review meeting. I was with the consultants last week. I was not able to attend, but I understand there's progress made. I think we're looking forward to timelines and things to go from there. In terms of community services, obviously we talked about the Cars in the Woods event at the last meeting, so I don't need to revisit that. Huge success. And then we've gotten one idea submission that was completed that's been routed through not only the village, but also has been bounced over to RRA and RPC to see if that's something that we can work with. And we will be in contact with that resident shortly.
Are there any questions for our trustee? Thank you very much. Communications. Trustee Trevino, please.
Yes, we have begun work on the survey, and we're at the phase, the pulling, gathering, and analyzing both public and village data phase. We're utilizing things like census data, some of our survey data, and more. In terms of communications, we've done one small thing right now to the website, which is if you submit an open burn permit, you can now upload the form onto the email to send it in. That's it.
Trustee Jamerson, please.
Not for her.
Oh,
One second.
oh, you missed something in your, okay, we'll come back. Okay, sorry.
Can
Trustee
I
Trevino,
finish one
please.
thing I forgot?
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry. One of the things with the survey is that we're going to be getting internal stakeholder perspectives and insight. So everyone here at the table will be reaching out to you as soon as we have the different questions ready that we want to gain your perspective on. So be on the lookout. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions there? Okay, Trustee Jamerson, can we come to you now?
I'm sorry, the Stormwater Management Committee is getting ready to have another meeting. We've been waiting for a review of the report that GHA did and their solutions for stormwater in the village. We asked Steve Zimmerman to review that to see how it would fit ecologically. And I believe his comments have been collated, and we will be talking them over at our next meeting. So we do not have a date yet for that, but that's where we are.
Are there any questions for Trustee Jamerson? Okay, moving on, board comments. Are there any comments from the board for the? Okay. The committee of the whole will continue. I think we had a good session, and the committee of the whole will continue to be held the first meeting prior to the first meeting of the month. Executive session, there's no reason to go into executive session this evening. So the next date and time for our meeting is, the next regular meeting is July 15 at 7:30. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second? Somebody, please. Just say
Second.
it. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you.